let's go for the biggest difference between having absolutely nothing to having, hopefully, something that resembles what we want. All right, let's get into it. Okay, biggest difference. Let's just start off. I might just get a little bit of this blue. Just going to use it to just draw a few lines in. We'll just go along here. Just feel what we're doing there. I can go up to about there. It might come a bit steeper. We'll just go a bit steeper here. Which way was that? Right, I can shoot through there. So all along we're just feeling the marks, feeling the composition. Now if you hear a few chook noises, don't worry about that. The chook house is right next door and they're quite broody at the moment, and so they're liable to get a bit clucky and make all sorts of noises. Let's not worry about that. All right, so what I'll do is I'll stand back. I will stand back in a minute, hang on. Stand back and see what I've got. All right, well those basic shapes seem to be what I want, so let's get some of the darkest darks in. We'll go for alizarin crimson, a bit of ultramarine blue and a bit of burnt sienna. That'll make a pretty decent sort of dark. Right, so put some in here, a little bit in there, a bit more red through that. Now a lot of this will get painted over, well, not all of it, some of it, yeah, will get painted over. At the moment it's always easier, as I've said before, to put the darkest darks on first, and then later on you can do whatever, you can go back over it. You can put the lightest lights on first, but it's a little harder to put the darks over the top. It can be done, particularly with a palette knife, because it's great for laying paint over the top. Saying all that, I still prefer to work with the darkest darks first as a general rule. All right, pretty in green, burnt sienna and yellow ochre. Just make up a little bit of foliage dark. Ooh, that needs a bit more burnt sienna. That's a bit too cold. So burnt sienna and yellow ochre. Just warm that up a tad. Just going to stick some of the foliage in now. A little bit of that there and there. Just lighten the value a tiny bit through here. There we go. Just going on nicely. What's that? Don't know. Bit more yellow ochre in that mix. Good. It's given us a fair amount of greens to call tonal values. Stick a little bit in there too. A little bit there for good measure. Righty. All right, well now it's time for the beautiful cliff face himself. So let's get some, what are we going to use? Burnt sienna? Burnt sienna's not too bad. Let's just have a look when burnt sienna's on neat, straight. A little bit of burnt sienna, a bit of cad orange. Beautiful stuff. A little bit more of those darks thrown in there. I might knock up a bit of a magenta purple colour, so I'll get a bit of ultramarine and magenta, maybe a twang of white. I just want to see what happens with that. Yeah, not too bad. I'm going to mix a little bit of that magentas as it goes further off. Lighten the value a bit with a little bit of white. Alright, now back to the burnt siennas and cad colours. Beautiful stuff. These cliffs, I had such a fantastic time out there, just when you're out in amongst it all, just amazing scenery. A bit more cad for the reflected light coming up. Amazing scenery, and it just really inspires you. Just darken that off a bit. Drop that in there. Put that in there. Right, let's have a look at that, eh? It's not too bad. Slightly keyed down, slightly greener version in here, because what am I doing? This is going to be reflections. And let's go again, a bit more burnt sienna, cad colours, mix it with some of the greens. A bit more viridian green, yellow ochre, a bit more yellow ochre. I do want it to be a fair bit greener, so I'm getting the viridian greens and yellow ochre combo there. Nice. All working well, it's got the balance right. I just made sure I had the balance of different shapes going on right. It's easier to get the composition right at an early stage rather than mucking around later on when you almost got it finished and then you realise something's out of balance. You don't want to do that. All right, what are we going to do? Yellow ochre, titanium white, mix up plenty of paint, make it juicy and lovely, get some cobalt blue, a bit more yellow ochre. More blue. Looks like I'm going to have to get some more yellow ochre out. Doesn't look like I quite had enough there. That's all right. Get that all mixed up lovely. Look at that stuff. Buttery quality. Very green. I just drop a twang of burnt sienna in that. Then white. That in. Look, there's a bit of rain outside. It's a funny old day today. It doesn't know what it wants to do. A little bit of rain, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Alright, that'll do for now. Maybe a twang more blue in that. That in there. Bit of that there. Right, let's go up a layer, a bit more blue, a lot more blue, white. Just had to make sure we were recording, which we are, fantastic. A bit more white to lighten the tonal value. That's more of a clean blue, less of the ochres. Get that on. Lovely stuff. Just want to work out what I'm doing here. Right, that goes about there. Now, go up a layer. I might go to the ultramarine blue, which is more of a red blue as the sky gets higher. Let's get a bit more of the red, a bit less of the white. Put that on. Blend, blend, blend. It's going on nice, a bit of that in there. It needs to be slightly lower key in the reflection. A little bit more magenta in the greens to kill it all off. bit more burnt sienna. The reflection is always a reflection of the object above, so it's not quite as chromatically saturated. It's a weaker version. Right. Let's go up a layer. Ultramarine blue, white. I'm actually going to throw a bit of magenta in because I want it to even be more red blue as it goes further up into the sky. So you got your ultramarine blue, which is a red blue, magenta, which has also got a red in it. So the combination makes it a deep. Getting closer on the purple side of blue. It goes up there, lovely, look at that. Buttery, beautiful quality of stuff. Get the edges all lovely. Pull that across. Yeah, I had a fantastic time while I was out in the bush painting. Just really in the moment I was. Observing nature direct from the subject, there is nothing better than that, is there? Now I'll put some burnt sienna and magenta here. Like I said, this reflection that I'm about to do is way more greyed. It's got a weaker chromatic saturation. So if you've got the blue and you get each side of the colour wheel, you get the other side of the colour wheel, put it in there, you'll get closer to the effect of reflection, so it's not dominating too much. It's a weaker version. A bit more magenta, a bit more brown, a bit more blue. What am I doing there? That's gotten too much magenta, so I'll put a bit more brown. A lot more burnt sienna brown. Because we're also starting to see the bottom as it comes closer. We're getting to see the bottom. Right. Right, let's keep working around, never finishing anything until you've got something else on the go. A lot more burnt sienna and magenta, a little bit of white. Trying to mix up an earthy colour now, kind of a wet earth. What is it? Let's have a look. Not bad. Just needs a bit more white, a bit more of the magenta and blues. Maybe a twang of yellow. Oops, what are we doing here? Like I said, I'm trying to paint that kind of muddy, just the bottom of the water. So mixing up kind of a grey, subdued tonal value. Let's have a look at that. It's good, but it just needs a bit more yellow ochre. It's a little bit too much mauve. And mauve, if you go the opposite of the colour wheel, even though it's a muddy grey, if you go the opposite of the colour wheel, the opposite of a muddy mauve, go to a muddy yellow by putting some yellow with it. And grey it off. Okay. Bit more white with that. Nothing going there, just trying to get a bit of textual variety going on there with the marks. Alright, lovely. What do I want that to be? About there. And come in like so. Mix up some more whites, burnt siennas and magentas with the blues, mixing up that neutral tonal value again. Go in there. Lovely. Right. Alright, I'm just going to get a little bit of blending of this sky with some smaller marks, blending all those blues together so that they are in a convincing receding skyline rather than just being big blobs not blended together. We want them to be a little more blended. There we go. Blend that up. Alright, we'll do the same with the water, we'll just get a bit more blending going on here. Bring it together, big nice little marks, just pull it all together. It's coming together nicely here. Like that one. A bit more in here. All these all together, like that. So coming good, very good, okay. Alright, that's all going good. Now I'll just mix up a little bit of white, burnt sienna, yellow ochre. What have I got there? Burnt sienna, yellow ochre. Oops, there's a bit too much green in that. Let's don't know where that green came from. Right, burnt sienna, yellow ochre. I just want to knock just a little bit into here. Just like there's an atmospheric haze. Just over the base there, just pull it in. Come right down to there. That's it. Just get lit up like so. That's about right. There's the tiniest bit of it in here too. A little bit of it here. I've got a few of those low-key things in now. Let's mix up some of the highlights where the sun's shining. Okay, what are we going to do? Hang on. Whoop, here we go. Paper towel, I just want to clean that off. Alright, I might just get a bit of titanium white. Mix it with the viridian green and get a real high-key turquoise green. What was that dinging? Get some yellow ochre. Half mix it with that green, it'll give you a very high key colour. Because what I actually want is a green here, but I want it to be beautiful and bright. Like so. Nice and bright, really sunny. Now we'll go for some cat orange. What are we going to mix up here? I'll go for a tiniest bit of burnt sienna with the cat orange for a starter, with titanium white. Burnt sienna, titanium white, cat orange. Yeah, a bit more burnt sienna to knock it back a bit. Not quite so intense just yet. A bit more white. Place those beautiful cliffy rocky bits in. The sunlight. Mix up some of these blues from over here into that to create more of a grey, more of a kind of a grey foliage, like an Outback foliage. Now, I'll get some magenta with these blues. Knock up a bit of a dusty mauve. So I can half slap into that. Gives you a kind of dusty Outback sort of foliage colour. What was that dinging? Someone's trying to contact me. There we go. Look at that. More yellow ochre, burnt sienna, bit of those viridian greens. Just very lightly touch. Going over the shadow value of that tree there, leaving a little bit of a shadow left. A little bit more blue. It's got, like I said, the reflections are slightly keyed down version. Yellow ochre, tiny bit more green. Let me just have a look what we've got here. A little bit there. Alright, getting there, we'll just keep on moving around. Go for some burnt siennas and whites, magentas. Some of those sky blues thrown into it, just mixing up. Yeah, a bit more sky blue, hang on. A bit more white, blue thrown in. Mixing up some of the rock work that we have in the foreground here. Beautiful rocks jutting out into the, there we go, like so. What I might do now is I've got a lot of the shadow tones in on this rock here. I'll introduce some of the light source where the light's just licking the edge of the rock work itself. So we'll go for that burnt sienna and cad colour again with white. Let's just see what we've got here. Just needs a little less white. So a bit more of the burnt sienna and cad orange. Knife on edge, I might go for the bigger knife, you know I love to use that. Bit of rain out there, I don't know if you can hear that on the roof, but she's coming down. Look a few of those little puppies in. The light's just catching nicely. Just licking little bits here and there. Just want to establish a bit more direct sunlight just here. A little bit coming down here. Now, with some yellow, a bit of green, a bit of white. Fairly light tonal value, just going to knock in some of the foliage that's here in the creek, on the edge of the cliff. There's little bits of foliage hanging on for dear life on the cliff there. Like so. Bang in some of the stuff from up above. Clear it down a little. Can go there. Right, now with a clean knife, very clean knife indeed, just pull through and soften it. Wipe it clean. Bit of rain coming now. Not in the painting out there, you can probably hear it. I'm not sure if you can hear it or not. Anyway, we'll just throw a couple of rocks and things in. Soften and add a bit of transparency to the water maybe. Little marks with a big knife. Alright, so I've got a lot of the work in. Now what I'm trying to do is just, like I was saying earlier, just put in the right refining marks, knowing where to put the right mark at the right time to help add to it rather than subtract. A little bit of CADs, bright colours. Just got to know where, like they need to be there, but you don't want to overdo it. How does that sound? That's a nice one there, I reckon, yeah. A few highlights up here on the ridge top. All right, well, here we are in the other studio. I decided to move it into a different light. It's quite often I do that. As I'm painting, I get so obsessed with the work and so into what I'm doing, it can become very hard to judge exactly what's going on. So quite often the best thing to do is just take a breather, have a cuppa, and even better, put it in a different studio to look at it in a fresh light, literally. So I'm pretty happy with what's going on. I've just added a couple more refining little marks after that cuppa, and I feel like I've pretty much got it now. Bit more subtle work on the reflections. I just played that orange highlight a little keyed down because it is like it's the reflection, it's not actually the literal cliff itself, so it's just going to be a slightly lower key. Pretty happy with the play of light on the day. Really enjoyed the walk through the gorge itself. Went for a few Ks and just took tons of footage, as you saw. Really got inspired. Did a few plein air paintings, as you would have seen if you saw the video that I put out just before this one. I did a lot of small plein air work on the actual trip itself. So I've come on really fresh, really pumped up to get stuck into this, and I'm glad I've done it so soon after coming home. And in saying all that, yeah, I feel like I've captured the feeling of the place. So it's a nice play, I guess, between all the warm and cool colours. I feel like I got the flow of the composition going how I wanted. It's quite abstract up close. It's quite spontaneous and vigorously applied, as if I'd been there as if I was working on site, and that's always the look I like. To be about paint up close, and then when you get back, it's all about realism. Anyway, pretty happy with all that, so let's just get that camera off, come right in and have a close look at the way the paint's been applied. All right, thank you.